I know something you don't know. I know something you don't know. Maybe. I bet you didn't realize that these still exist. Hello, welcome to the Christy Grace Scarlet Pen channel. I am an author, creativity chaser, and book lover. I may have done the kid Nina 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 song before, but in actuality there are a lot of people who know that these still exist, and if you read the title you have some sort of idea of what I'm talking about. Libraries are still around. Just so you know, libraries, they're still here, and not just in schools but for adults. Public libraries, I don't know what it is about me or my life or where I was going or what I was doing with it, but I just had no clue that public libraries still existed and that they were so good. Genuinely surprised. At least the ones near me are really good. I did know there was a public library when I was younger because every so often my dad would go and take us. But since I moved to a different area, I wasn't looking or thinking about libraries at all, and then one day randomly stumbled upon the biggest and the best library I have ever seen in my life. It was amazing, it was high-tech, it was beautiful, and I was obsessed with libraries again. I could go there and work, I could go there and borrow books. Oh my gosh, seriously, the amount of books that are actually available to borrow, game changer. Libraries, just borrow the book and move on. I love the library, it's amazing, but the reason I'm doing this video is because my libraries, they're all linked in a chain. It's all like the area. Since COVID had this amazing thing come out, and I never took advantage of it until today. So with COVID, you can't actually go to the library and spend time there reading or spend time there working or whatever. But libraries are still open. You can click and collect from a library. Now you have like an app to borrow on your phone. This is great for kids in school. They may need books, you know, for studies, or even people like me who need research material. It's great. Since the emergence of the COVID lockdowns and things like that in 2020, and I just have never done it till now, and they've called it a binge bag. Essentially what that is, they send me mystery books. They asked me what kind of books I like or what kind of authors, and then they put it in a surprise pack, and you can either go click and collect or get it mailed to you. And just because it was way more fun, I got mine mailed. I have a binge box set from the library. They sent me 10 random books at random, and it's a total and utter surprise. They posted it to me for free. You borrow from the library for free. It's pretty freaking amazing that they even do stuff like that. I think I put in the order for the binge bag like 4 days ago, so it's been eating at me a little bit every day to see what books they sent me. Fingers crossed I can actually read them all, or I'm actually interested to read them all. And then if I'm not, I'll just go to the library and return it right away. I'm hoping there'll be people that I don't really know much of, and I haven't really heard of them before. Opening it up! This first book is Force of Nature by Jane Harper. Let's see what it's about. It's very big. Some of these are really long. These are really long. What happened to Alice Russell? Woo! This sounds so good. 5 women go on a hike, and one of them doesn't come out, and they don't know where she is, but she was a whistleblower, so I'm sure there's some sort of conspiracy as to why she went missing and where she's gone. It sounds really fun. Lost, cold, desperate, danger runs deep. Force of Nature thoughts. Solid idea for a plot. I mean, characters were developed relatively well and at a good steady pace throughout the novel. There seemed to be, it was quite long, and it seemed to me that there was several parts that were fleshed out that actually didn't need it, and it felt like some areas were longer for the sake of being longer, and it didn't feel necessary. But overall, it was pretty solid, pretty okay. I liked the Aussie feel. I think in general it was fine. It wasn't anything I would rave home about, and I probably wouldn't recommend it only because it was an okay book, not because it was a horrible book. It was fine. Oh, this sounds fun. Pitch Black by Alex Gray. This is small in size, but it's still long. A murderer targets a football club. I actually don't read a lot of sport-related books, even in fiction. I've never been a sport type of person, so just never have picked something like that up. So this will be really an interesting change for me, and I'll be able to actually get into some little bit of sports stuff in the sports world. I didn't like the book. There were lots of reasons. There were pages and pages of description. Then there was way too many characters to keep track of. There were also a lot of point of views. It was almost every single character got at least one point of view in there, and that made things so confusing. And unfortunately, because there were so many POVs, it didn't sound like anyone had any distinct voices. It was one voice. I think even a cat got a point of view scene, which was the stupidest. The story itself was really basic. The story itself was really dull, even when there was action. Really disappointed in this book. The detectives felt relatively, you know, smart, but nothing spectacular. The resolution was alright. Hit that notification bell if you want to be told when I post a new video, because I release a lot of bookish content a lot of the time, when I get a chance. Okay, let's go back. Definitely not. Okay, Witchfinder by I can't even see, but nope. That guy I'm not gonna read. Sorry, I don't do witches. Okay, the next book is Surprise Me by Sophie Kinsella. The person you know best can sometimes surprise you the most. Aww. This looks like a romancy type book. Let's have a look. I recently read a book. It was Our Life in a Day, and that was a romance type book, and it turned not that very quickly, and I was really disappointed with that book. But this book seems like it could potentially have a similar feel. 10 years together with kids, happy, but then they freak out all of a sudden because the potential that they could be with each other for another 68 years. Why would you freak out about that? And so they decide to surprise each other with some stuff, but then a scandal gets brought to light and could potentially, you know, ruin their marriage. It does say comedic results, so it does sound like it is a comedy book, so I'm hoping for a happy ending. The first 50 pages of this book and the last 50 pages of this book were the best. The other 250 pages. The main character, Sylvie, was a whiny, selfish, unbelievably idiotic character, and she's the main character. It's in her point of view. She didn't communicate properly. The whole premise of this book was ridiculous anyway. Only the 21st century generations would be so terrified to think that you have to live the rest of your life, decades, with another person. What is that about? The whole point of marriage is to spend the rest of your life with someone. Do your whole life, hopefully 50 years you spend married to one person that loves you, that you love. Like, that's the idea of marriage. Marriage isn't, you're not supposed to go into that thinking, well, we'll just last as long as we can. That's not the point. You're supposed to pick someone you think you can actually spend that 50 years with. So the fact that they even got worried and concerned and scared about spending the next 68 years together is preposterously ridiculous. Only my generation, only the 21st century generation. It makes me sad. Okay. I mean, I liked the idea of surprising each other in marriage, and it was funny. It was right. There was some silly consequences and they didn't always work out. And then the book took this weird turn with this personal revelation. The whole book for me was flat. It was a fail. The characters were awful. The idea was kind of silly. The only thing that did save it for me, Sophie's writing style was great. In the beginning, the character was quirky and fun, and it was written in such a cool way, and so that the writing style was really good. They didn't like the rest. Where are the stories of, like, yeah, there might be some problems, but the majority of the book isn't the problem. The majority of the book is fixing it or working through a problem. Like, I'm just so sick. There's so much negativity. Where's the positivity? Where is the positivity? It is, yes please, Amy, I can't say her last name. Oh, she wrote haikus. Oh, wow, look at this. Other people are not medicine. That is good advice, actually. I probably won't, again, I'm not a memoir person, but that was funny. I get a bit of a giggle. Deadline by Simon Koenig. Time only matters when it's running out. I feel like this is essentially the movie Taken. Daughter's kidnapped, give you like, what is it, 48 hours to raise money, and then otherwise she'll die. But you'll do anything to get your daughter back alive. It's like Taken. But the Mirror said it was so authentic that it takes your breath away, so, you know, maybe it's not so much like that. I made it a third of the way through before I've given up. For me, the idea is pretty cliched. The writing was pretty graphic, violence-wise, and I didn't enjoy the style of the characters. I could try and force myself to finish the book, but in all honesty, I don't actually care. I don't care if the kidnapped girl is returned. I'm assuming she will be. I don't care how they do it. I don't care about any of the characters involved. I just don't care. It wasn't written in a way that made me care. And that's sad to say, because I do care about real life kidnappings, obviously. My book is about a kidnapping, but yeah, no. It's Celeste Barber, challenge accepted. So it's a memoir. I don't actually know who she is. Part memoir, part comedy routine, part advice manual. The Black Widow by Daniel Silva. Terrorist attack derails a spy's promotion, and he has to send a female doctor undercover into the organization to stop another attack. Again, it's so long. How many have time to read all these, guys? I made it to chapter 2, but not far into chapter 2. I think that it was devastating circumstances, but the way that it was written, I didn't understand where we were going with the story. The character was unusual. It was the first chapter, and I just... Look, spoilers if you don't want to know, but the first chapter POV was the person who was about to die. That's fine for a prologue, but when it's like chapter 1, this person definitely died. Like, there was an explosion. There's a lot of stuff happening in here, and in general, I don't usually read a lot of things with like ISIS or the Middle East, you know, conflict stuff. I don't really read that stuff. And so for me, this was already sort of a stretch to get into. It just didn't draw me in quickly enough, or it just didn't feel like it was something that I was going to enjoy. The style I didn't like very much either. And so unfortunately this one I also, I started speed reading it, and then eventually just decided I'm not even going to continue and speed read this one. Agency by William Gibson. That sounds dramatic. It looks very patriotic. Post-apocalyptic London a century from now. I don't know how to describe what this book is. Part political thriller and part time-traveling fantasy. It sounds really cool. We'll find out. This book, I tried very hard to read. It was so confusingly written that I couldn't follow it or keep up. It was, you have books that are eloquent and wordy. This was not that. This was just, let's throw words at you and see if you can keep up. And just for me, I just didn't want to. I didn't want to try, because you had to try so hard to understand what any of this was saying, like what any of the story was saying. It felt so all over the place, disjointed. It was just not fun or easy to read. The premise sounded really cool. I don't think I even made it past chapter 1. The way that this world was being introduced and described was so odd, and I couldn't follow, I couldn't understand. I just didn't like the way it was written either. Like the style I didn't gel with the style anyway. The characters was unusual. I wasn't getting enough information where things made sense. It was just really weird. The Silent Life by Karen Slaughter. What a fun name. Again, super long. Yeah, a stalker. Okay, stalker slash serial killer hunting people. Thought he was in prison, but then comes again, I guess. Classic crime story. I decided not to read this book because I looked into it a little bit more, and I just felt like at the time it just was not a good idea for a read for me. So I actually didn't read it, and it made it back to the library. There you have it, books from the library a mysterious binge bag. I didn't like pretty much all of them. You get what you get, and you know, I gave some new stuff a go, which was cool, and now I'm just going to stick with borrowing what I know I will like. If you've read any of the books that I got from the library that I've read as well, let me know in the comments what your thoughts were and if you gave it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I'll see you in the adventures.